Testing, testing. Hopefully my audio is working okay. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We're here. Tyrion, how's it going? Summerlin Sheber, how you doing, my friend? Good to see everybody. So, before we kick off, hopefully this is coming in clearly. I kind of bumped my my little camera, which you can see right here when I got started. I had to set up all my lighting, get everything ready, and hopefully the audio is coming through okay. Tyrion says it's working. Very good. Summerlin Sheber says they're excited. Welcome, welcome. So to kick us off, this is my third time doing this little kind of art school session. I want to go through a little explanation before we get going. I'm the Checkpoint Professor, better known in the real world as Gabriel Olson. I am a full-time professor at the University of Utah, where I teach game design, and I have a background over several years in art and design. I spent 10 years working for Disney as an artist and a level designer for a lot of Disney games. Toy Story 3, Disney Infinity 1, 2, and 3, Cars 2, the video game, a bunch of fun stuff like that. So I have a background in art. It's true, I'm not just a pretty face on YouTube playing video games. So full disclosure right now, if you came here expecting to see some Mario Maker or some Game Builder Garage or any kind of video gameplay, this is an art session. So the idea here is I've got several kids. I'm also a father, and I realized I don't do enough teaching them art and art skills. So I set up this little YouTube channel, this little YouTube time slot, so that I could give them a lesson. So my kids are actually in the other room. They're going to follow along, and at the end of this little lesson, they're going to come in and show off what they did. So today, we are going to be doing simple shapes and forms and shading. So the first lesson we did was a fun little lesson on painting portraits. We did one on drawing hands. A little bit more advanced. We're going to scale it back and talk about shading today. So here we go. Brigham, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. We've got a lot of people here today. This is amazing. A lot of emotes. I need to adjust my chat so that it'll show emotes. Tyrion, I'm glad you're excited. Tyrion says they don't prefer school, is what they said, but that's fine. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about shading. So why is shading important? So first, before we get going, we're actually going to talk about what tools I'm using and why. Usually when you think about drawing, you think about paper and a pencil. And one of the things I want to do is keep this live stream as accessible as possible. I could draw on the computer. Excuse me while I cough for a second. I've been doing a lot of work in the coal mine, so I've got a little bit of the black lung. But I want to keep it accessible. I could draw on the computer, I could use the iPad. There's a lot of different ways to draw. But normally you think about paper and pencil, which is awesome. I've got a red pencil here and a ballpoint pen. But really anything you can draw with that you can use levels of sensitivity, you're great. Okay, so we're going to start off first. I'm going to use a couple different pencils. We're just going to do a little drawing exercise here. This will be really simple, so all my kids can do this. We're just going to practice drawing some lines. But the way we're going to do this is we're going to push down harder on the pencil and then slowly let up. You can't see this super well, unfortunately, I think, because it's red. But we're making a darker line, and then we're letting it fade up and kind of feather out. And this is going to be important in shading because shading is all about a gradation of colors. So this is a good thing to practice, just kind of put your lines close together. Try and draw the same line over and over. I know it seems tedious, but it really gets you in that practice. You can do the same thing with a ballpoint pen, at least I can try to. You notice I can still draw dark and then let up, kind of flick my pen up, and it kind of fades off into a light line. I really love using ballpoint pens because they're clean, they're accessible. A pen like this costs like 10 cents at the supermarket, and I do a lot of drawing with it. kind of missing some of the chat, but if anyone has any questions during the chat, I will do my best to answer any of those. So feel free to, especially art-based questions. So this is just a fun little exercise to do, is to work on that. It's going to help you with your shading. We'll talk about different shading methods in another stream, cross-hatching, dimpling, and that kind of stuff. But really, I'm trying to keep this simple today. So we're going to start out today with drawing, we're going to start off with a square. We kind of talked about forms last time. So actually, we're going to draw, I'm kind of just rolling with this, but let's draw the 3 forms that we're going to talk about today, which is a circle, a square, and a triangle. So we'll just draw those out really quick. We'll draw a circle. I'm going to use my ballpoint pen because it's a little bit darker. We'll just draw a quick little circle. It doesn't have to be perfect. We draw a square, and we can draw a triangle. We'll just keep these nice and simple and dirty. Tieran asks, will you do a guide in drawing animals? I would actually love to do that. We should plan another one of these lessons just drawing some animals. Absolutely, that'd be a ton of fun. I agree with that. So with these shapes, these are shapes, these are not forms. This is a circle, this is a square, and this is a triangle, right? So until we add some shading and some definition to them, these are just shapes. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to turn these into 3-dimensional objects. The circle's a little bit harder, but with the square, what we'll do is we'll keep this simple. We'll actually talk about perspective in another stream. With the square, if we draw a couple lines behind it, we're going to draw 3 lines at a 45-degree angle, just pointing that way. If you look at this point and this point, kind of draw an imaginary line and then keep drawing it that way. Draw those back, and then we can draw this line right here. We can just match it up straight up and down right behind it. And this one here, we can just match that up right here as well. It's okay if it's not perfect. You can just kind of draw over the lines a couple times. And right there, you start to get a 3-dimensional object. Right, with the triangle, we can do the kind of the same thing. There are a couple days we either can do a cone or a triangle, but we can kind of just draw the same kind of line back, and then this line goes down, and already it turns more into like kind of a pyramid. So we can turn those into kind of 3-dimensional objects really quickly. But what we want to do is make these seem even more 3-dimensional. See if there was a ground plane kind of behind these. This is kind of the desk they would be sitting on, kind of like the drawing we had at the beginning. But we want to turn these into something that has a little more shade and a little more density to it. So that's where shading comes in. And shading, essentially, we're going to start over on this because I need a little bit more space because I'm going to cast some shadows off these. Or we could just leave these right where we are. But I want to have a little bit more space, so I'm going to have you guys draw these again. All right, everybody paying attention. I'm going to draw a little bit smaller so we have a little bit more room to draw these out. So for my kids watching in the other room, we're going to draw that same thing over and over again. And Tieran, let's keep this art-based. Okay, here we go. Another cough just for you guys, but I was kind enough to mute it out. So we're going to draw those 3 things again. So we're going to draw a circle. We'll draw it right over here. We'll just keep it a little bit smaller this time. And I'm not pressing too hard. I'm going around with my shoulder a couple times just to kind of get that circle shape. Here we'll draw our square. And we'll just do it really loose. And over here we will draw our triangle. And we'll just make a few light lines until it kind of works out for me. You can do this in pen or pencil. I wouldn't do it in like a Sharpie or something that kind of draws one stark, harsh line. It's going to make it difficult. Just going to double check my camera, make sure it's in focus. There we go. All right, here we go. So next up, we're going to start drawing some shading on these. But before we do that, let's do kind of the same thing we did again. Let's make these 3D. This, once again, this is where repetition plays through. This is your assignment. So we're going to kind of look at this angle. This is a 45-degree angle here. We're going to draw that straight up and draw a line out that way. Follow that, match that line here in the corner and right there. And then just like we did before, we'll match this top line. Draw a parallel line up there and a parallel line to this one right here. We just learned that it's funny the concepts you learn and then forget, like parallel and perpendicular. But yeah, parallel lines are two lines that go right next to each other. Perpendicular, they go against each other. So we'll do the same thing here, and for our cone as well, we'll kind of do that same thing we did before. I'm going to turn it into a little bit of a pyramid. Let's draw a line that goes straight up, and then one that comes down. So that turns it into a 3D object. These aren't in perfect perspective, but we'll deal with it for this lesson. And the circle is a little bit different because it's round. There's no defining edges like the square and the rectangle have. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. I'm right behind these. I'm going to draw a quick little ground plane. You can do that too. It kind of makes you think that it's kind of sitting on the edge of a table. R. Scott, thanks for subscribing, my friend. Okay, so here we go. So we want to talk about light. So now, for things to be shaded, they have to have light on them. If you notice my face is lit really well, it's because I actually have several lights in this room. But we want to mimic the sun a little bit. So if we imagine which direction the sun is pointing, we're going to draw an arrow. I like to draw an arrow in my pictures. That just helps me know which direction the light is going. And then I know where the light is hitting and where it's not, right? So this is the sun up here. It's going in that direction. Tyrion says, CPP, I think we hit 3,000 subs. We did! We just hit 3,000 subs on our YouTube channel today. And I could not be more excited. I think I mentioned it before. It took 18 months to hit 1,000 subs. One more year to hit 2,000, and we just hit 3,000 in a little less than 2 months. So a lot of things are happening on this channel. I appreciate all the subs we get. We're going to be doing a lot of video game stuff, a lot of art stuff in the future, a lot of variety. We do a lot of stuff here. So here we go. I digress. So anyone watching this who is not subscribed, please do. Please support if you like this kind of content. So the sun is going in this direction, right? So we got to think about where the sun is hitting it. So if we think of a square as a 2D object, and the sun were coming right here, it's gonna have the most light bouncing off that object from that side. This side is gonna get no sun on it, right? And so it's gonna actually cast a shadow behind that if this were a 2D object, right? If this were on a 2D plane. But it's hard to see as a 2D object that the sun is hitting here. You've got two types of shadow, and we're going to talk about this in just a moment. You've got, and I'm going to quiz my kids at the end, you've got a core shadow, and you've got a cast shadow, right? So just to point this out, this is the core shadow right here. So the core shadow is the shadow on the opposite side of the sun, on the opposite side of the light, that is the dark side of the object. And the cast shadow is like the Peter Pan shadow. It's the shadow that object casts onto the ground. That's why they call it a cast shadow, because it kind of throws that shadow down. We can call it a lot of different things. But that's when you're walking down the street and the sun is behind you and you see the shadow on the ground. That's your cast shadow because your body is casting it onto the ground. Or if you're doing finger puppets on the wall and you have a light behind me, you're casting that shadow onto the wall. That's the cast shadow. So we want to add that for all of these objects here. So we're going to start with the circle. The circle is a little bit different. The sphere is a little bit different because with a cube we have these nice objects. But with a circle, we're going to draw the 2D version up here just like we did with that. If you have the sunlight pointing this way, most of the sun's going to come here. But you notice on this circular object that as it curves around, the sun's going to hit it less and less. The sun's going to actually go past this. And so that core shadow is going to have kind of a gradient. It's going to kind of go around the side. And then, of course, it's going to cast kind of a similar cast shadow. Summerlin says, I love how you included Peter Pan. Well, it's great, right? I love, it's a good kind of visual descriptor because, you know, that they have that nice section of Peter Pan where he has to sew his shadow back to his feet. Kind of awesome. Okay, Tyrion asked, do you remember, do you have games on your phone, guy? That was a lot of fun. Okay, so let's start with the circle here. So we're gonna draw the sun is coming in this direction. So we know the sun is gonna kind of be heaviest right here on that circle. So this is where there's gonna be no shadow at all right there. And then over on this other side, that's where the shadow, the core shadow, we're gonna start drawing first, starts coming around the side. Now this is gonna be interesting. So notice the way I'm doing this. I'm just kind of using those same kind of lines we did earlier, kind of doing them lightly. This is kind of a cross hatching approach. And we can start light and just slowly make those darker. But you can see already this ball is starting to look a little bit more 3D. Now we won't get into it too much, but there's actually a light section over here on the ball where the light is bouncing back up on it. So this dark section, this core shadow, doesn't go all the way to the edge. I'm gonna go in a little bit. We're gonna draw some more lines, kind of even this out. But you can see that's where you're kind of shading in that ball. We're keeping it very simple. Okay, so now we want to work on the cast shadow. So the cast shadows, these shadows always have the same shape of the object that they're casting from, right? So since this one's a circle and the light is coming down through here, it's going to kind of have an oval type shape. It's going to have that same kind of round shape underneath it. I'm going to kind of draw that underneath. And then we can do the same thing and start drawing kind of those light lines and start working on that cast shadow. And the closer that cast shadow gets to the sphere, the darker it's going to get. So as the cast shadow leaves, the further it gets over here, it's actually going to get a little bit lighter because more light is potentially hitting it. So we'll play with that. And remember, I'm just doing this from my head. It's always a good idea as an artist to have some physical objects. One of the things I started doing in a concept art class I have is to really teach lighting. Is what I would do. I would bring one light to class that would kind of act as the sun, so a single light source. And then I'd bring some Sculpey clay to class and have my students bring Sculpey clay. And the things that they had drawn, I would make them hurry and do a quick little version of it, a small little 3D sculpted just in clay. And I'd set them on the paper and we'd put that light source on and it would show you exactly how that light bounces off and where those core shadows and cast shadows are. And it would improve their drawings immediately using that from life. It's always a real helpful technique. So I remember growing up, in a lot of the drawing classes I would take in high school and then even in college, is they would have us do things like this all the time. We'd go into a drawing class and they'd have like a volleyball on a tin can with a light source on it. And I remember at the time thinking, I don't want to draw balls and volleyballs and tin cans. I want to draw people. I want to draw things. And I wish I had had a better mindset back then and I had practiced those things a lot more. Because at the core, these shapes are what teaches you pretty much everything you ever need to draw. It's pretty awesome. And so doing these kind of practices are actually super helpful for me when I'm drawing, because then I can remember how light bounces off things, how it makes them look 3D, and even drawing a real simple drawing like this can help practice that and make you a better artist. And so as we continue these courses, these series, like if we did an animal drawing stream next, I would bring up how we use these core and cast shadows, these 3D objects, to kind of build that. Tyrion, thank you for stopping by, my friend. Okay, so now let's kind of set this one here. We're keeping this simple today. This is perfect. We're going to look at the cube now. This is no longer a square. You remember when it was up here, it was just a square. It was just a shape. But now it's a form. It has some definition, some mass. So this is a cube. I'm going to draw the edges a little harder. And now we're going to imagine that sun hitting that again, right? The sun is coming in this direction. So this side that we can't actually even see would be getting the full force of the sun. So imagine when you're in the car and you need to put the visor down, that's because the sun's hitting you right in the eyes. You're getting the full force of it. That's where the sun is hitting you. It's the brightest. And so imagine if we drew an imaginary line behind there, you can see where that pane would be. That's what's getting the most light. So just like up here, we need to figure out where the core shadow is. And it's a lot easier on this because it is this side. This is the core shadow side. It's the opposite of where the sun is hitting it. Right, so we are just going to start filling that in. We'll do the same kind of lines here. If you're using a pencil, you can just shade it right in with a pencil, but this one is going to be nice and dark lines. I'm going to crosshatch that in. And to crosshatch, basically, you draw some lines one way, and then you draw some lines the opposite way, perpendicular to those, and it creates a nice, it's a quick way when you're sketching to kind of darken those up. You can scribble. Really, you just want to get some darkness on that. Now, this side right here that's facing us is kind of in the halfway zone. It's getting maybe a little bit of sunlight and a little bit of shadow. It's not really, it's kind of out of there. So that might be kind of a 50% shadow. So we're just going to kind of do some really light lines on that and decide how much we want to put on it. Crosshatch it a little bit more. And we could even do a little bit of the same on top if we want. I don't have reference, so I'm just guesstimating here. We'll just sketch them a little bit. And you can see, so now we're kind of seeing how the shading works on this square object. When you have solid planes like that, it makes life a lot easier. All right, so then remember this light coming here is going to kind of make the same kind of boxy shape. So I'm going to take the two edges, this corner edge, let's kind of make that an imaginary line out. We're not worried about being too precise. We're going to take this one, make that same kind of line going out that way. And then I'm going to look at the shape of the top of this, because that's going to be the top of the shadow if the light were coming off of it. So this bottom should kind of match this line here and this line here. So something like that. It might not be perfect, but we'll just leave it like that. So there's our core shadow right there. And now we can start shading that in, just like we did with the sphere. It's going to be darker whenever it's closest to the cube, and then it might fade off just a little bit. What I love about doing these type of drawings, especially as practice drawings, is how quickly you have something that feels like it's kind of realistic in 3D. So when you look at cartoons, when you look at 2D versus 3D cartoons, really that's what it is. It's whether it's shaded in or not, whether it has that shading on it, makes it feel more lifelike. When you look at something like Princess and the Frog, that's more of a flat shaded 2D type of art. And when you look at something like, you know, what's the latest 3D one where it's rendered a little bit better, they have all the core shadows in it. That's because the computer emulates shading and does that pass for the artist. So pretty cool. So kind of the same thing for this cylinder as well. Or sorry, this pyramid that we drew. We're going to draw that line here. And it is very similar to the cube in that it has a dark side of the moon, or dark side of the pyramid, and then this lighter side. We can't see the side that is getting most of the light. And then of course the shape kind of comes out in the same way. This one's going to be more of a pyramid shape, and we'll darken that up. Pretty straightforward. Even with a ballpoint pen, you can do a lot of really fun stuff. So we're going to do a bonus drawing here because we kind of talked about the tin can in my art class. So we have a ball. It's no longer a circle. This is now a ball or a sphere. This is not a square. It's a cube. And this is not a triangle. It's a pyramid. We're going to draw another one that's very important. In normal life, this would be a rectangle, but we're going to combine kind of these two. If you combine the rounded shape of a sphere onto a cube, you would get more of a cylinder, is what it's called. So we're going to draw two parallel lines here. And then we're going to draw an oval at the bottom of it, and then the same shaped oval at the top of it, just like that. And then we can outline the bottom and the top, and this makes a cylinder shape. And so now we want to make this 3D as well. So we're going to look at this, do the same thing we did with the top three shapes. Is we're going to draw our sunlight. We know the light's coming and hitting it right here on this side. So this would get the full brunt of the light. The top might be a little bit darker. But then because this object is curved, it has a curve to it, the light doesn't hit it all the same. Most of the light would be right here on something curved, and then it would get less light as it moves off to the side. So that's the way this is. So on a cylinder, the core shadow on a cylinder is going to be off to the side towards the back about right here. We're just going to block it in really lightly, and then I'm just going to crosshatch that in. And it's going to be more of a gradient, kind of like the sphere. Since I love drawing with ballpoint pens, we can kind of be messy with them, and I really love that. So this starts to give kind of that core shadow, and then it might have like some lighter shadow kind of blending into it. And then the interesting thing is usually on this side of the can, there's a little bit of shade right here as it comes around. And we could work on that a little bit more, but immediately we can make that cylinder look more 3D. And then we're going to draw, so this is the core shadow is right there. And now the cast shadow, we're going to add that on, which should be right there, which is kind of that same shape. We're going to take the two ends, draw them out, round them up here a little bit, and just shade those in. This is the cast shadow. This is the shadow that tin can is placing on the ground. And there we go. That, my friends, is an intro to shading simple forms and drawings. I'm just going to yell really quick to my kids. Are you all caught up? I can't hear them. Have they all? I wonder if they've all done this. So they said yes. Okay, so just a second here. I'm going to have them come in and show their drawings that they did. Like this. Okay, just one moment, kids. If you have any comments or future art that you would like to be shown, we're actually going to use these principles going forward to take these primitive shapes and turn them into animals, chairs, different fun little stuff to draw as we go forward. And so now we're going to check out how my kids did. So we'll have them line up to my office and come in. Like I said, Summer and the Shebber, thank you so much for watching. If anybody has any ideas that you want me to go for future episodes, plants, I love plants. You know what I actually love drawing? I love drawing trees. And believe it or not, rocks are really fun to draw too. They kind of help with the kind of environment structures. So I'm taking notes. So we have plants, we have animals, a lot of this fun stuff. Okay, let's have the Checkpoint kids come in. Ready? All right, here they come, here they come, here they come. This is live, everybody. Brigham says they like buildings. That would be fun to draw some buildings. Okay, come here. You want to show off yours? Okay, here's my 3-year-old's drawings. Here we go. You want to come show them? Yeah. Come say those are my drawings.
Those are my drawings.
Good job. So that's the 3-year-old. Here we go.
I need to spell too.
Okay, here is our 7-year-old. Do you want to show off your drawings?
This one is.
Okay, you gotta put them down so they can see them. Just like, yep.
These are the lines that we first did, and it's really, ow! And it's really easy to draw the circles 3D. You just have to draw a circle and then a line on them at the end.
Oh,
and it's 3D.
So you have that line.
It's really easy.
So it turns into a Pokeball. You know, I thought about drawing a Pokeball when I was doing that sphere. I thought, oh, we could do that, but we didn't. Oh, beautiful. Okay, that's the second page. Okay, let's see your shaded ones now.
I heard someone say, don't forget that do you have games on your phone, so I did that.
There you go. Do you have games on your phone? All right, beautiful. So here you can see, hold on. Here you can see the cylinder, and you can see the light sources. This is where the light hit. You've got the core shadows and the cast shadows and the pyramid. Beautiful job. So that's my 7-year-old. Everyone is clapping. June Tree, never have to apologize for missing a stream, my friend. You're awesome. Okay, next up is Widmore. This is my 11-year-old. All right, let's see what you got.
First one?
So you got your lines.
Yeah.
Very well done. Okay.
Oops, actually, it's purple.
Okay, these were the shapes.
These are the first.
The shapes in 3D. Beautiful. So you notice no shadow. Here's shadow. Nice work, my boy. All right, fantastic. All right, and now Miss Pie, my other 11-year-old.
Okay, so.
Oh, you did draw Pokeballs.
Well, here, like right in my mind, I draw them first. So these are the way you can shade. There's these circle ones. There's the one that my dad's doing, and then this is crotch hatching.
Oh, we've got an overachiever. Well done.
Okay, this is the one with all the shapes. I
Okay.
didn't do the cylinder though. This is one I drew before the thing.
Oh, so we've got strawberries, a
practice.
volcano. Very cool. So she was practicing. She saw me doodling last
And
night.
this is a cat I drew. My cat was sleeping outside.
There you
and I
go.
just decided to draw it.
So she used our real life cat and drew a picture of our cat. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
So in case you haven't noticed, this is my little artist. So she's gonna grow up to be a far better artist than her dad, for sure, if she keeps practicing. All right, everybody. If you want to join my Discord, if you do command Discord, you can see my Discord. And if you want to show off your art in my Discord, I will show that off on the next stream to see what you have all done.
Tell them something.
Oh, here's our cat.
This is the cat that this is the cat that she copied.
That's the cat. Yep. All right. Good job.
Now she wants to get out. Come here. Come here.
Summer, the hand lesson was 2 weeks ago, but you can see all of those. I'm going to make a playlist with all the lessons in it. The VOD is still live, so you can still watch that if you want to. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you like this type of content, please leave a comment. The comments help Google show or YouTube show it more, and they show that people like this kind of stuff. I like doing these live sessions so I can talk to the people watching. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear it. Someone mentioned they want to see a plant. Someone mentioned they want to see animals drawn next. I will work on the schedules for those, and so if you're subscribed to the channel, I will post that out soon. Everybody have a beautiful day, and we will see you next time.